that as storm chasing, then I don't know what the date was because it was just some random summer day where it was storming and I hopped in my van and I drove around in it. The first time I ever like targeted to go after a storm was April 20th, 2004. For those of you who don't know, that was the Utica tornado, an infamous tornado outbreak in northern Illinois. Uh, I was actually with my buddy Travis, and we were looking for hotels for that year's upcoming Ozfest. So we're in the lobby at this hotel trying to price out rates for this concert, and tornado warning flashed up on the screen. I had no idea there was, I really didn't pay much attention to the forecast back then, but it was flashing tornado warning on the screen. I looked at the radar and said, "Hey, that's just southwest of here by about 30 minutes." I'm like, "Let's go." And I just blindly, no radar, no nothing, just, I know the storm is kind of going this way, and I just drove that general direction. We got some pea-sized hail, some flooding. It was the greatest day of my life up until that point. So that was kind of my first sort of like intentional long distance drive to go out of my way to find a storm. um, my first like actual storm chase to like go out to the plains was May 5th, 2007 is when I went all in and started traveling the long distances. When I decided, all right, I'm all in on this crazy career. So that would be May 5th, 2007, which was the day after Greensburg.
Okay. You know the exact dates, so definitely.
Yeah, it's a bit of a loaded answer. It's like, well, like what do you count as an actual storm chase? If it's just me blindly driving around in the rain, trying to see something, well, then, yeah, it's some random summer day in 1998.
Well, the borrow saying for my dad, if it was, it wouldn't be called fishing if it were catching. It wouldn't be called chasing if you were always catching storms,
That's
right?
right.
Um, so, as far as that goes, right? So, you said, you talk about a career in storm chasing, and I think people, again, they're like, what do people do that? Um, so I'm assuming, and I could even pull up a post from your Facebook today of
Uh-oh.
damage to the what do you call your storm chase vehicle? Do you have a nickname for it, like
Yeah,
Reed or
I call it 3.0 because I'm very clever. Because I've,
because
I've had Ford Expeditions for the last like 10 years. So the first one was 1.0, the second one's 2.0. This is my third Ford Expedition, so I just call it 3.0.
how many miles do you put on these things? I mean, these expeditions.
My first expedition, which was a 2006, it made it all the way up to 318,000. Then the Camp Phaser went out, so that was the Achilles heel for that one. My current one, 2.0, I still have. That has 232,000 miles on it right now, but it's going through its like fifth rear differential, which is why I had to buy 3.0 because the sad story is, for those who don't know, I bought my 2.0 in 2019. 8 days after I bought it, a kid ran a stop sign and T-boned it. And ever since then, it's had repeated rear differential failures that nobody can figure out. It's like this scientific medical auto mystery. Been to dozens of specialists. Nobody can figure it out. So it's chewing these things up every 10,000 miles. So I'm kind of just running this last one into the grave, and then that vehicle will be retired. So I've got my 2021 Ford Expedition 3.0, which only has 130,000 miles on it right now. I bought it last year with 65,000. That tells you how many miles I've put on it in just a year and a half.
Right. Oh God, a year and a half. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah,
Wow. Yeah, and you
quite a bit.
drive everywhere. I mean, I've seen you, everywhere. Northern Plains, Southern Plains, South. I guess Dixie Alley. That's what they
Yeah, just
call
about
it.
anywhere.
Yeah. Um, I would betray, my lack of car knowledge, but I think the differentials your all-wheel drive, like, right? I mean, your four-wheel drive when it switches into
Yes,
all-wheel. Yeah. Huh, I wonder if
correct.
where have you drive through a lot of fields and stuff too, right? Like you take it off road, right?
Yep.
I wonder if that
Not
maybe.
intentionally through fields, but a lot of dirt roads.
So it's not like Twisters where you just like beeline into a field.
No, it doesn't work like that in real life because I have the infamous Bowdle Field incident from 2010, which I made a YouTube video about. Still a controversy to this day, but if you end up in a field in real life, it's not like it is in the movie Twisters. a lot of people get mad and there's controversy that follows. So I don't recommend it.
Yeah,
We
you took.
didn't do much choice. It was a last ditch effort.
Okay, I think I lost Adam, so I'll just text him. While I'm doing that, I'll go ahead and look in at the comments. You got. If you have questions for Adam, go ahead and leave it in the comment. We'll get the stream back up. Oh, you know what I think it is? I think it does want me to pay for it. Let me see if I can't stand by, y'all. This is what happens on um, live broadcasts. You have problems sometimes and can't go edit it. Okay, I'm just typing a message to Adam. Let me see what else we got here. We could do a Google Meet. Let's try a Google Meet. That's what I probably should have done originally. Being my Gen X tech skills. Get him some type of invite to this. Alright. Let me see if I can't get him an invite. Stand by, guys. Sorry about that. We'll get it fixed. I was worried about that. It said something about your time will run out and you gotta freaking pay for it. What's that about? People. Yeah, let me see. Let me get his email up here, guys. 1 second. Alright, I'm just getting Adam's email pulled up and I'll get this going. Alright, we're gonna get him going here. See if we got any comments. Probably just people like, oh man. Oh, I think we're gonna get this up on Google Meet, Chelsea. But appreciate the offer. I think you're with Adam. All right. Let's see if we can't get this going here. All right. All right. You can hear me?
Uh,
You
I
hear me
can
all right?
hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Now you're blown out and loud. So I guess it's Google. It's a better sound.
Okay.
That's better. All right. Let me see about getting you up on the screen here.
Didn't see
There
that one
we
coming.
go. Here's Adam. Your mic is a little loud now, I think. Just FYI.
Let
Let's
me
see.
see if I can turn that down.
Can I get a different view here?
Is it better?
Um,
Is it better?
yeah, it is better. Yes, thank you, sir.
Okay. It's got a volume dial, which I had it all the way up for the last one.
If we gotta put you up on the screen all the way, we're just gonna do that. And that didn't work.
Okay.
And that didn't work either. And let's try that. And let's try that. Okay.
Just as we started getting on a roll, too.
We were getting on a roll, but that's okay. Hey, if you guys got any questions for Adam, go ahead. Ethan, I'm not live on YouTube. I will be broadcasting on YouTube, but to be honest with the software that I use, it's just like, things have everything's paid now, and If you want to send some stars in the comments, by the way, or subscribe, go ahead. But I try to do this on a budget as much as possible. It's only fair to my family. Okay, back to our regularly scheduled programming. So I don't know what we were talking about. I think it was just like your early experiences chasing. I did want to ask you about Texas chili and that whole controversy at some point, but we'll get there.
Uh-oh.
The
Is anyone
debate.
from Texas in the chat? Anyone from Texas here?
Yeah, we need some Texas people to comment on that whole debate. But I already know what the Texas people are gonna say. So anyway,
Hmm.
um, but you guys are
The
kind of
Texas
outnumbered.
people are wrong.
Yeah, well, but I am interested in that. Anyway, so all right, so you got these vehicles, they get damaged. You got expenses with gas. You got you got to get out there and lodging and food and all of it. So I mean, does your family think you're crazy? I mean, do they think that's crazy? I'm curious what your reaction would be to that because I'm sure you get that a lot.
Oh, I get that a lot, and my family absolutely does think I'm crazy, but over time they grew to accept it and respect the passion involved with this. I just the last couple of years, I've finally taken my brother and my nieces out on a couple storm chases. Still trying to get them a really good tornado. The times they came out were a little bit slower, but so they're starting to embrace it a little bit. But my family, my brother thinks it's cool. The rest of my family, they couldn't care less about weather. So there was no family interest there at any of the early days. There wasn't that father is into weather, so the son grows up in the steps of the father kind of bond thing. There it was just me dropped on my head as a kid, and the rest of the family's like, what, you're going to do that? That's dumb. How are you going to make that a career? You need to get a real job and do something with your life. Well, here I am, and I guess it's debatable whether or not you could say I'm doing something with my life, but here we are.
Yeah, yeah, my dad definitely not into weather. I can relate there. Um, okay, so did you do any type of school for weather? Did you take any classes or anything like that?
I took the meteorology courses that I only went to community college. Yeah, I'm a bum.
Hey,
No,
only man,
no
I went to community
graduating.
college. Don't hate. It's okay.
Yeah, I went there for 4 years. That was the problem. But
I think
I
I
took
had longer than that, but go ahead.
I took all the meteorology courses that they offered, which were all pretty basic stuff, and they were my favorite classes. I aced every one of them, so I enjoyed the classes that I did take. But there's really no formal like meteorological courses that I took. It was all at the basic level. Everything else is I've been self-taught for the better part of the last 20 years.
Yeah, can definitely relate. Did a trade school in the Navy for meteorology. I mean, a lot of the classes were similar to college classes, but most of it it was on the job training. Sitting on the watch every day and watching weather. And after a while, you get. I told I used to teach meteorology for aviation, and I would say, the best teaching tool is going to be sitting there watching the weather day. Every season, you'll see the similarities every year, and around that time of year, the climatology is a certain way. So
Yep.
anyway, I'm looking like
What a better way to learn.
I feel like I look like a ghost, kind of stuttering. So I'm trying to, after playing with it to try to get my face up there, I'm gonna go ahead and bring it down if I can figure out how to do it again.
Yeah, it's all about the lighting
It's all about
on,
live,
on
man.
some of these things.
This is live.
This
This is live
my
broadcasting.
office my office isn't the best. We got these white walls and this big giant window. In the day, the sun just whoop, it just blows everything out, and so I have a soft light behind a monitor there that seems to work pretty well.
Yeah, I got this. You can see the same deal going on here. So,
Hmm.
okay, so I can't figure out how to bring that down, and honestly, I'm just gonna move on. So I took a couple classes, but out there chasing. What would you say? So you started out there in the early aughts, since what we kids call it, and and I know from being around the same time I was in the Navy doing professional meteorology, and so I know the differences. What would you say are some of the biggest differences between that time period and now as far as what you do?
Oh, so much has changed in the last 20. I could ramble about this for days, but it's the technological advances that have come since, we'll call it, the early to middle 2000s. Is It's been crazy. The advancement in the forecast models, the forecast guidance, the higher resolution, the short-term cam guidance that we have, and all these tools that are getting better and better and better at pinpointing kind of where to go, even on chase days. Now you've got this thing called NATOcast that all the new kids are using, and you have the herd. When I started chasing, the HRRR, the herd didn't exist. It was, you had the old school ruck days, and the herd was just a nested thing buried deep in, and you had the 4 kilometer NAM before it became the 3 kilometer NAM. So I remember when the herd came out, and it was like, what? And like, and if you've only been in this a short time, imagine trying to forecast a chase day without the her, without
Yeah.
NATOcast. That stuff didn't exist 15 plus years ago. And the resolution on these models is getting higher, it's getting better, and some of them are getting pretty dang accurate. The her absolutely nails it sometimes. I use it, of course I'm going to use it. But just the advances in modeling have made forecasting so much easier. I mean, to be honest, you don't need to go to school for this
Right.
stuff. You can self teach yourself how to interpret the models,
Yep.
and then it's all just pattern recognition over time. For seasoned meteorologists, storm chasers, forecasters, it's all pattern recognition. That's all it is. You look at the data and you say, "Here's the data, and here's what happened last time." That's all it is.
Yeah. I was gonna pull up some of these some of the acronyms you're using, the jargon for folks that aren't quite as well, he's just talking about really high resolution convective allowing models, CAMs, that with the HRRR, high resolution rapid refreshes, you're getting model runs every hour. Whereas the big models, global models, they run every 6 or 12 hours. So it's just a more higher resolution, getting into like the individual storms and mesoscale, as they call it. So that's what Adam's talking about. Yeah, I mean, again, having started around the same time, I can certainly relate to that. It's just an amazing amount. And then now we've got the AI boosted, or whatever you want to call them, models.
Yeah.
So that's something that's new, and we're kind of feeling that out. I haven't seen a huge jump yet on that front. I don't know if you would agree, but
Well, they say,
yeah.
the Google DeepMind outperformed everything else for the hurricanes this year. I'm sure you're very familiar with that. You do a lot of hurricane stuff. So that Google DeepMind supposedly beat all the numerical models. Not by much, but it still beat them. But it's not prone to throwing out wild, erroneous solutions, just like the GFS does. So when we say it's the best, I mean, we're talking like just a hair. The average person's really not going to notice much of a difference. But it's up to the experienced forecaster to kind of filter out some of those nuances, and that's where the experience and the pattern recognition comes in.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, when I first started out, it was the big Euro versus the American
Mm-hmm.
GFS, and certainly we all knew which one was better, the ECMW of Euro. But things have certainly there've there've been, like you said, more and more models, expanded models, hurricane models tracking the core of the storm, which has been really a huge thing for intensity forecasting, which was never very good. And so yeah, just a lot more tools, I would say, right? And like you said, you don't have to go to school. You can go to YouTube University. You can do what Adam does, go out there in the field. I certainly am interested in it. I don't know if my wife is as interested in it. She just posted about being terrified of tornadoes, so I'm not sure she would make that trip. But yeah, okay. So let's see. If you got a comment or question for Adam, go ahead and throw it in the comments. I have people saying they've done a little bit of education, but just love to chase and
It's the best way to
you
learn.
and Reed
It
are her
truly is.
favorites. This is or his favorite. I'm sorry. I think Bobby
Oh, thank you, Bobby, for
Palmer. Oh, you know
joining
him.
us and hanging out.
Some of your
Yeah, I've got our chat window rolling too.
some of your crew. Appreciate you guys for clicking on this page here with Adam. Okay, so take us through it like a normal chase day. I mean, you mentioned boredom. I mean,
Yeah.
and I can certainly I understand where you come from on that. Of course, I sit behind a computer, so I can watch the whole big picture. But you're out there, you're in your 2.0 or 3.0 expedition, and what are you doing? I mean, what do we wake up? Take us through a normal day, or not normal. I don't know. Take us through a
Yeah.
day.
The normal is not so normal, but I wake up usually late because I am not a morning person,
Yeah,
like at all.
I hear
Like
that.
I have to struggle to pull myself out of bed before noon, even on a chase day, no matter how excited I am. So I wake up usually late. The first thing I got to do is make sure that the forecast didn't change because, when you go to bed that night, you have an idea of what's supposed to happen. But weather changes every hour. So you got to look at the forecast again and make sure your plan it didn't change. So it's a brief forecasting session, and then I gotta throw everything in 3.0 and then hit the road, whether I'm leaving from a hotel or from home. And then like it's Christmas season right now, right? Everybody's decorating their house, they're hanging up the lights. You know how much of a pain that all of that is? Imagine doing that every day with chase equipment. I got to rehook up the laptop and plug in the cameras and charge the cameras and hook up the stream and set up the stream. So, there's this whole, you got to set everything up every day. And then you have to drive and continue monitoring the forecast as well. And then the goal, typically my ideal goal, is to get there about 2 hours ahead of time. If I know where I'm going to be, like, I have my target city. My goal is to typically get there about 2 hours ahead of time so I can adjust because there's a lot of times you get there and maybe that warm front's not lifting as far north, or maybe the dry line is hanging up another hour west, or maybe a random storm blew up and shoved an outflow boundary 2 hours south. There's all these different changes that happen at the last minute. So you kind of got to try to get there early to make up for some of these adjustments, and then it just becomes a waiting game. In a perfect world, I get there with 1 to 2 hours to spare to maybe eat my Subway sandwich, kind of catch my breath a little bit, record some updates. Maybe even not off for 20 minutes. A little quick snoozer in the parking lot somewhere. Then it's full energy for the rest of the day. Sometimes you arrive just in time, and sometimes you arrive late. It's such a wild game. Every day is different. It's one reason I love it.
And so you have different places you like to stay, like you have kind of an idea already of the lodging and all that around these areas, I'm assuming.
Yeah, I keep it pretty consistent. Like around the country, I have some of my preferred like hotels. I like the 1-story motels where you back your car up and the door is right there, so I can open the back door and just toss all my crap right in the door. I don't have to go up an elevator or walk upstairs. There's a lot of chasers that are like, "Oh, I'm a diamond at Hilton and fancy hotels." I'm just like, give me my Mon Palm hotel where I can back my truck right up to the door. I like my little dingy kind of off the cuff motels as long as there's not sketchy characters hanging around the parking lots.
Right.
Those are the type of places that I look for. Small, local, mom, pa owned. I like to support the local businesses if I can. They're typically less crowded, more quiet. So those are the places. I know all the ones in my head in certain areas of the country. Like if I'm in the Texas Panhandle, I know where I'm going to stay. If I'm going through Southern Missouri, I've got my favorite hotels. I got a place that I love to stay at in Burlington, Colorado. That's a place like this. So like I kind of know my preferred locations around the country, and if I can make it work, I will stay at those locations. I don't As much as I love some of the randomality of storm chasing, there's also some consistency there, and that I know kind of where I want to stop and where I want to go. And that helps with the planning because there is a lot of last minute planning with storm chasing, but having those favorite locations, there's a little bit of a routine there.
Do you bring like extra gas? I mean, what kind of supplies do you normally like? Are you thinking in those terms or?
I don't carry extra gas on a tornado chase.
Maybe
There's
more
only
for
been
hurricane,
twice.
maybe a hurricane.
Yeah, for hurricanes, definitely. On a tornado chase, I don't. It's a lot more chaotic driving around. That gas will be flying around. It's likely to
Yeah,
spill.
it could blow
Going
up,
down
couldn't
these
it?
going down these dirt roads of storm chasing for tornadoes. So yeah,
That makes sense. Yeah,
There-
we'll follow the
there's been
weather.
twice where I almost ran out of gas on a tornado chase. So in those moments, I was like, dang, I should just get one of those. They got these gas containers now that you can like hang on your windows. They're these little flat gas
Oh yeah,
containers. You
yeah,
see them on a lot of like Toyotas and Jeeps.
yeah,
I should probably start carrying one of those, but then I worry about the thing getting punctured or blown up by
yeah, yeah.
hail.
I would assume that could be something I would be worried about too.
There's pressure in there, and if it's getting beat up with softballs, I don't know.
Yeah, probably hail. Yeah,
Mhm.
could be a concern. um, and so you mentioned like your prep. You have certain apps you like. I mean, you always get this question: what's your favorite weather app? Well, my favorite weather app is me going on and doing a forecast. But
Heck yeah.
what do you like? You follow like Trey, Convective Chronicles? Watch that stuff at all, or?
Trey is great. I love Trey. He and I have worked together on a couple things. As far as weather apps go, I use Radar Scope just as a backup. My preferred software when I'm out chasing is GR Level 3. It's a bit old
Yeah,
school.
yeah.
I'm a little bit older, fuddy duddy myself. I haven't fully adapted yet to mobile culture, doing everything on your phone. Like I am still like old school laptop, running streets and trips, GR3. But I do like Radar Scope, and Weatherwise is a great app, kind of a newer app out there. Love Weatherwise. They're really good. Weatherfront 2 is another great app. Those are kind of my main three
I'm showing
that
people
I'll.
what GR. Well, I have GR2 analyst, but what that
You
looks
got
like.
GR2. Yeah, that's the fancy. I have both. I don't use GR2 when I'm chasing because the data files are much bigger,
Oh, okay, yeah,
but
okay. So you
it's a
use
tiny
GR3
resolution.
on your laptop or whatever.
Yeah, I
And
use GR3 in the field. When I'm at home, I'm using GR2 though,
yeah,
because
yeah,
the home Wi-Fi can ingest that larger data feed, but in the field, it's not as practical. So GR3 is a bit lighter.
or
So
radar.
I
Do you
use
use
that.
radar scope more? You would say, or
I do use Radar Scope a lot. When I'm out and about, just it's right there in my pocket. So Radar Scope is my default radar app for sure. I don't use Radar Scope a lot on chase days because I've got GR3 up on the
okay,
laptop.
okay, yeah, that makes sense. And
But it's a great app. I mean,
yeah,
a lot of people are just using Radar Scope to chase, and that's fine. It's a great app. But I'm still a little bit. I like the laptop still.
sure, absolutely. But more you can do with it for sure than like a tablet or something, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I use Radar Omega here at home because I can desktop, stream it, and I prefer that at home. But
Yeah, Omega's a good one too.
yeah,
I don't have a lot of user experience with that one. I've just kind of dabbled in it lightly, but it's very functional from what I've seen.
yeah, and that's another thing. Like we talked about the changes. Like these radar apps are a huge change too, and like the different things you can bring with you um, out to do this is certainly a huge improvement there. And also, it's democratizing. I mean, you get more people involved in this. And again, like I
Yeah,
said, I appreciate you coming on this page and following some other pages that are a little bit more regional or smaller. Certainly appreciate
yeah.
that.
I like to help out small creators, grow. That's
What a
another
weird
sort of
concept. You're gonna help? You say you're helping?
yeah. It is kind of weird, I try not to be a gatekeeper. I like to support underdogs and help encourage people to grow and pursue their passion and do their thing. Like, I'm the exact opposite of somebody who is a kiss butt to those who have already made it. I don't bend the knee to the people at the top, which inevitably hurts my career because the people at the top they have all the connections and hookups and notoriety, and I'm just like, y'all already made it. You don't need my support. Like, that's not, I'm not bashing them, but it's
Right.
like, you don't need my support. You're already there at the top. So I want to try to help the people that I can help. That's where I focus a little bit more of my attention there.
I certainly appreciate that. You just
Hmm.
have to think back to when you were starting out, right? I mean, and
Hmm.
you didn't have that
That's right.
type of following or the support. You had to build it, and I get where they're coming from in that regard, like stealing their stuff. But I think
Oh yeah.
a lot of people get a little too aggressive with some trademark stuff. And, I always say, if you allow these pages to share your stuff, like with your name on it, you know, um, it gets you more notoriety, and I think it's just a cool thing to do for people. But
Yeah.
that's my
As
opinion.
long as it's got to be the share button, and this issue comes up all the time in the weather community. Content theft and copyright. It's a real problem in our industry. That the viral footage that does get filmed, and there's a proper way to do it. I mean, it's as simple as clicking the share button. If you're watching, don't ever download and re-upload a Storm Chasers video. They
Yeah,
will they will come after you,
that's not cool.
myself included.
Yeah, yeah, there's certainly a line there, but people have different experiences, and I get why people after years of doing this,
Hmm.
especially doing what you do, would be kind of concerned about their stuff getting,
Yeah.
and you don't want it out on the wrong platforms too, which is another big problem. All these weird pages,
Right.
and I know when I first
Yeah.
started doing this, and I know from my time with in meteorology that there is this like sort of there used to, especially it's not nearly as stark as it used to be, but like there's a meteorologist, and then there's maybe a weatherman on TV or forecaster, and I kind of did more of the journeyman thing, the forecast side, but I did take classes, so I remember getting those complaint or those messages back when I was starting up, like the insults and all that, the trolls. The trolls.
Yeah.
You have to
I love
understand.
them. They crack me up. They're some of my favorite. I love all my followers, but man, the trolls are some of my favorites.
They do
Some of
keep
this,
you on your toes for sure. A lot
oh,
of them don't know the hell
yeah,
they're talking about, but they
yeah.
do try to. They will can give you good critiques if you're willing to listen. I know when I first
It,
started, I would get mad, but
it keeps my wit sharp,
yeah,
like just
yeah,
coming up with ways that,
yeah,
like,
yeah,
I have a good time. I don't know if they're getting mad behind the keyboard, but I'm laughing and having a good time with them. That's
yeah.
just part of it.
It's part of it. I think
It's
they
part
might be
of it.
behind the keyboard thinking they know everything, but that's just my opinion
Yeah.
of them. But and they may know stuff that you don't. So I try to be I try to look at it with a grain of salt. As far as so you were in the movie Twisters, is that correct? You had like a cameo role or something. You had a little role, or you were in it. Did a
Just
scene.
briefly, you can see my mug on camera for like 5 seconds. It's not a
Okay.
speaking role, but I am front and center in the camera. That was a lot of fun to do.
How
A
did you?
lot of fun to participate in.
Yeah, I'm sure that's cool. We have a celebrity with us, folks. That's what I was saying before. Uh, but what
I'll
was
sign
that?
your Subway wrapper for $1.
Anytime, sir. Anytime. Subway is great, by the way, and it's certainly if you're out there in the field and you need a good option, I would say probably the best amongst all the others fast food type stuff. Um,
Delicious.
and we'll get you a sponsorship for that at some point, I'm sure. Yeah,
Please, that'd be my goal. I'm still too small. But they ain't gonna look at me until I got millions. Until I got
I
millions.
think I saw one of your posts just as kind of an aside, but like on the troll topic, or maybe not a troll, but just someone posts, and they've accused you of participating in weather modification or some type of conspiracy to cover it up, and
Oh
I
Lord,
and
it was an email I got.
I say I saw that. I say, hey, listen. I would respond, listen, yeah, if you want to be the sole sponsor of the page, we're going to get the truth out, man. We're going to get out
Hmm.
there and we're going to get the truth out. Just go ahead and just sponsor me for
Listen, this is what I will say about that.
Go ahead.
If I could control
Get
the
out.
weather, if I could control the weather, your house probably wouldn't be standing because I'd be throwing tornadoes everywhere.
Middle of
Like,
winter.
that is proof
Tornado.
right there that I do not control the weather because there aren't daily tornadoes. Okay.
We'll have to look into that. We'll look into that.
Boring sunny weather is my least favorite weather. It would never be sunny and it would never be calm if I could control the weather.
Yeah, I got
So
kryptonite
there's
weather.
your proof right there.
What's that? Go ahead.
There's your proof right there.
You got proof, huh? Well, we'll investigate. Like I said, if anybody wants to sponsor my page, I'll look into this stuff for you.
Hmm.
Kryptonite Weather says a troll has entered the chat. I don't know if they're referring to themselves or someone else. I haven't really
Oh,
seen.
he's definitely referring to himself.
Okay, okay. You know these guys.
Yeah, I know some of these clowns. I love them though.
America says you
No,
need more Christmas cakes. I'm guessing you like those Christmas cakes. It's that time of
I
year.
got I got
Oh.
a big one right back there, made out of wood though.
Hey man, the sweets, we gotta love those Christmas cakes. I also love
Mhm.
them. So in Twisters, yeah. So Jennifer has a question about that. You're in Twisters enough that I shouted to my friend, "Hey, that's my favorite storm chaser up there." So there you go.
That
But
was a
how
lot
did
of
that come
fun.
about? What was the? How did they contact you? How did that come about?
Yeah, so they actually, they contacted myself and a bunch of other storm chasers. They were first actually more interested in the vehicle. I 2.0 is a little bit Mad Max looking. It's got this big hail cage. It's obnoxious looking, right?
Right, right.
So they were more interested in the vehicle at first to have it in the background for some of the shots that they were doing. But then they realized that they could utilize the storm chaser that came with the vehicle as well. And when they reached out to me, they had multiple filming dates scheduled. And one of them was in the middle of May when I already had a tour booked for that year that I
Yeah.
was guiding. And I wrote them back and I said, I would absolutely love to do this, but you want real storm chasers to film in the peak of tornado season when we're out chasing. Like a real passionate storm chaser is always going to pick being out in the field. So
Hmm.
I had to say sorry that I actually had to turn it down because of this. But what ended up happening was the scene that they filmed, they had to reshoot it in December of that year. So they did a recast. So of course now it's December and there's no active chasing. So they had to reshoot one of the scenes. So I was able to participate in the reshoot because it's December now, which it was a very cold morning. We had to dress like it's summer. It's 40 degrees in December, but the wardrobe is, oh, you got to dress like it's summer. So that was a very cold shoot. So when you watch that scene, which is the wind, it's in the beginning of the movie, it's the wow, the wind farm sequence. That was filmed in December, believe it or not. So that's kind of how all of that came about. So I'm thankful that they had to do the reshoot. I guess they did something wrong the first time, so they had to put all the effort in just to refilm, that 30-second scene, which I'm thankful for because now I was able to participate, and it was a lot of fun. And I remember some of the chasers that did the original shoot in May, they couldn't be there with their vehicles in December. So when we got there, they had to try to set all the cars up the way that they had them set in May, but not all of the cars were there because it's a different time of year. And now you had other chasers that were there like me. So like, well, how do they circumvent that to keep the shots consistent? They did a really good job with it. The average person's not going to notice some of these nuanced differences, but because I was there, I can pick up on them. But the average person watching the film is not going to pick up on some of those things. But I was so glad that I got to do that. And a little bit of a spoiler. I saw one of the people involved with the marketing of the movie was out chasing this year, and I talked to her. Uh, the next Twisters movie is pretty much greenlit already. There is
Oh,
going to be another one coming out, from what I heard from this
headlines.
person.
We've got headlines here, guys.
Yeah, so from
Insider
the
info.
early bird word that I heard is they're going to be sending out that same casting email to everybody else again. So I'm going to try to get in on it again, which will be a lot of fun because I enjoyed it. It was great.
I got Jeff Hooker saying meow, so I'm guessing he's talking about the cat.
He's talking about the cat
The
who
cat.
I've booted to the garage. She's an older senior kitty. When she hears me talking, she goes nuts. She'll be quiet, but the second I start speaking into a microphone, it's like she gets jealous that I'm
Yeah.
talking to people.
Oh yeah.
She just loses her marbles, which is cute for about a minute, and then it becomes very distracting. So yeah, I have to boot her out of the room when I do one of these.
So if you guys got comments or questions for Adam, go ahead and leave those in the chat. Go ahead and like the video if you haven't done so already, and maybe share with friends if you want to get this out to people. I think people will enjoy hearing about Adam and his background. Did you meet any of the stars on the movie? Probably get that one a lot too.
Yeah, they were all there. Now, when you're an extra on one of these sets, they have very strict rules. You're not supposed to talk to them. You can't get in the way. You
Right.
you have to put your cell phones away. But there's usually a quick nod or maybe a handshake if there's a little bit of downtime. But they were all there. I was standing, a few feet from them in some of the scenes there. But there's nothing formal about it in that regards.
I think I don't know if this was what do you know Reed, right? You know Reed Timmer.
Huh?
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people know who Reed Timmer is. Would you say that that character, I guess it's Glenn Powell is his name, I think the actor's name is? I think that's right. Anyway, would you say he is similar to Reed in some ways? Like, was that based on him at all?
That would be my guess. They're loud, they're boisterous, they're passionate. Screaming, yeah, woohoo, anti. That's.
Never
I would
stop
say,
chasing.
yeah, I would say it's pretty accurate. That's just the passion manifesting itself. In a boisterous way. And some people just have those louder personalities. I'm a little bit more quiet, recluse, kind of individual. I'm not a loud
Right.
individual when I'm out there.
Now, do you chase with a partner most of the time? I mean, do you usually have a partner with you?
More often than not, no. Sometimes yes. Chelsea is, when she's available, she'll chase with me, of course. But for the better part of half of the year or more, I'm usually out there solo. Uh,
Oh,
that's
wow.
just
I'm sur-
that's just the way it goes.
Okay.
I'll chase. I just saw like I don't have a dedicated partner that goes out with me every time. Chelsea would be the closest one that I have, but she's very restricted in when she can go out, so most of the time I'm just out there. It's solo.
And I would imagine you want to make sure you got somebody whether you can trust. You want to really be able to trust them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's definitely advantages to having a partner versus going at it solo, and there are a lot of days I wish I did, especially when it comes to splitting the driving. These target areas bounce multiple states 4 or 5 days in a row. And it's hard to finish a chase day and then drive 12 hours to the next target. I can hack that out for maybe 2 3 days max as I'm getting a little bit older these days. I used to be able to do it. I used to be able to do it for 5 6 days, 2 hours of sleep. Woohoo, I can go forever. Well, the sands of time don't flow up, they flow down. So now I'm down to about 2 to 3 days max grinding. And it's those moments where I'm like, I just wish I had someone to split the drive.
Okay,
That's the
right.
biggest advantage there.
Maybe see they could track it or whatever while you're driving or whatever.
Yeah.
So is it? Would you say that a lot of storm chasers go solo?
It's probably a 50-50 mix. There are a lot of seasoned solo chasers, but a lot of the bigger ones that you see, there's usually a partner or a team involved. All the big streamers, they have a guy in the front seat whose like sole job is to manage the stream. Sometimes that's something I wish I wish I had, but it is about 50-50.
All right, 50-50. Sorry, I was just saying something to my wife over there. So well, I know you're going to take us through a chase in a minute here. Um, tell everybody who Chelsea is if they don't know. Maybe some people on my page don't know.
She's my better looking half, and the reason I'm in Texas.
Oh yeah, I was going to ask
Yeah.
about. Okay, so there we go. So Texas, right? All right, so definitely more of a obviously going to have more activity than Chicago. We know
Yes.
that, and
One
especially
reason I love it down here.
and you said you're in the DFW Dallas area, so
Yeah.
pretty good place to what do you call the Texas base, right?
Yeah.
To
Texas based.
operate out of.
Love Texas. Don't love DFW. Ugh.
So
The
we did
Metro Mess is what
I
we
did
call it.
mention at the beginning. Sorry to cut you off there. What were you saying at the end?
I was going to say, I love Texas. I don't love DFW.
I worked in aviation for an airline, and I certainly
Mhm.
could tell you that yes, Dallas goes down, and in the whole country, there's a ripple effect with all that American big base there. Um, all right. So speaking of Texas, we mentioned Texas chili. Now, I'll tell you, growing up in Florida, not really known as a chili capital of the world or anything, but everybody had the beans and the chili. That's pretty much right.
Mhm.
Is that pretty much everywhere but Texas? Is that right?
As far as I know of, because that's how we do it in the Midwest and in
Yeah.
Chicago.
Right.
You come down here to Texas and they have this glorified sloppy Joe that they call chili, and they will defend it. They will defend it, and I'm just like, no, no, you got to have the beans.
So you go down on you're on the bean side. All right. Okay.
I'm on the bean side.
Because I think like you said, people that are in Texas get pretty defensive about this debate.
Hey, it's all right to have pride in something, even if it's wrong.
There you go. I always like beans better. It's just got more heartiness to it. Anyway. Okay, so well, if you want to go ahead and take us through this chase. Go ahead and share. Hopefully, you can share your screen on this one. We tested it.
Yeah, it looks like I can. Looks like Jennifer has a question here. She says, "If I could live anywhere in the U.S. to optimize your proximity to chase locations, where would you live? Would it be the Texas Panhandle?" That's a great question and something I've thought about a lot. To really kind of put yourself smack dab in the middle, it'd probably be somewhere like Wichita, Kansas. It's probably the biggest metro that's most centrally located. During the beginning of the year, a lot of the stuff is down here. It's in the Texas area. It's in Mississippi, Dixie Alley. The first half of the year, most of my drives are 3, 4, 5 hours. But then we get into the latter part of the season. Things start shifting into Colorado and Wyoming and South Dakota and Illinois, the Midwest. Now my drives are, 10, 11, 12, 15 hours. If you were somewhere around Wichita, that's kind of like a 7-hour circle that would cover about 90% of the severe weather. So it would probably be somewhere in like northern Oklahoma or southern Kansas. I'd have a lot more further drives to like the southern plains stuff that takes center stage in the beginning of the year. But then in the summer months, the latter half of the year, I'd have that same drive getting up to Nebraska and South Dakota and those places. So it'd probably be somewhere along that Oklahoma-Kansas border area is like the perfect sort of centralized location there. I will tell you what, though, I would probably live in the Lubbock area if it was more centrally located for storm chasing. I absolutely love West Texas. I love it out there, but Lubbock is just too far removed from the bulk of the Northern Plains chasing, the Dixie Alley stuff earlier in the year. They get a lot of great storms out there, but it's a shorter window. But I just love West Texas. I love the vibe out there. It's just the terrain is just beautiful. It's not overly crowded or populated. That's where I would live if it was more centrally located. Like if we could pick up West Texas and put it in southern Kansas, that'd be perfect for me.
They wouldn't like that too much in West Texas, probably.
No, I think the people in Kansas would have a complaint about that, especially if Wichita residents like beans in their chili.
Yeah, okay, we can't have that. And I assume chasing in the plains versus Dixie Alley, big difference there.
Huge.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, chasing in Dixie Alley for me is more of it's part of the job versus I'm going out there because I enjoy it. It's part of the job, right? That's where the weather happens. That's where I have to go, but I'm not excited about it when I have to go out there because it's just, we all know this, the trees, the lack of roads it's so much harder and challenging to chase out there. And, there's the whole adage of, oh, it's more rewarding when you do get it, but yeah, it's still not worth it overall. I have no interest in flying a drone to have my drone see the tornado that I can't see. I have zero interest in that. Like that doesn't do anything for me. So that is not my forte. So yeah, chasing Dixie is a job for me. I'm not going out there because I'm passionate about it. And that's not an insult to, anyone out there. The residents out there deserve the same attention and they deserve the same coverage. So I'm going out there because it's the job. Keep me in the plains. I love my flat open views. There's nothing like a flat open view with that big storm coming at you. And when you're out there in some of these other areas, it's frustrating. Here's all the trees, then you get maybe one little split second of a view, and there's a lot of chasers out. You got 30 chasers trying to cram into one little area to pull off to see the storm. It just becomes a whole mess.
Speaking of that, there have been headlines over the last few years about traffic jams and chase areas. What would you say is, have you seen a big difference in the amount of chasers? I would assume so, given social media now. And
Oh,
would you
absolutely.
call it, how would you say it's very dangerous because of
It
that?
is.
Would
Absolutely.
you say that that's the biggest reason, other than of course what you got barreling down on you? But you can kind of see where those storms are headed based on photographs and things like that, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, because storm chasing is it's a game of chess. It's a calculated move. You see the storm moving, you have to plan your moves and stay ahead of it or to stay in position. And if you're on a one lane road with 1,000 storm chasers and the traffic is bottlenecked, that slows you down. It puts you out of position. It can get you ran over by the storm. This has already happened numerous times on numerous days. It's just, what do we do about that? There's really nothing we can do. I try my best to avoid the main highways. I try to stick to dirt back roads, stay off the main paths. But in some areas, those main routes are your only options. And so, of course, that's where everyone's going to funnel to. And it's a real problem, especially during the peak season months when, dare I say it and call some people out, but during the peak season, you get a lot of foreign tour groups that come here. A lot of every country on the planet sends a 4-van documentary crew to film United States weather to make a documentary every year. They're 4 vehicles deep. They got their tripods out in the middle of the roads. A lot of them, they don't even know our driving laws. I mean, I hate to say it, but they are the worst offenders because you got these, and I've done tours where you have 2 to 3 vehicles moving in a caravan. It's hard enough to keep yourself in position in all this mess. When you're trying to do 3, 4 vehicles, like it becomes a real road clog. And, they want to keep their group together. So they will pull some pretty egregious traffic maneuvers to keep their caravan together. That'll force you off the road just because they don't want to break up their caravan because they're inexperienced. They don't know what's going on. So, they get a little more frightened easily. And it's just one of those things, everybody has the right to come here and do it, but too many people coming here to do it is causing a problem.
And, that might bring up like a question for some people. Should there be more regulation? Should there be licenses? And of course, how would you enforce that? But what is your opinion on that?
I'd 100% be against any form of regulation, but at the same time, it's like these are problems that need to be addressed, and I don't know what the perfect solution is because you can't tell someone they don't have the right to be out there. Everybody has the right to go out and pursue this. Definitely not debating that, but the bottom line reality is there are some people that shouldn't be out there doing it, either from lack of experience or just the reckless nature of their personalities. Like, and how would you enforce it? At the end of the day, can you prove I'm storm chasing? Oh, you're out here driving around with cameras. Well, I could be filming anything. Maybe I'm looking for a rare species of bird, or maybe I'm out here. Like, can you actually prove I'm storm chasing if I'm just in a plain vehicle? Like, how do you enforce it? You really can't. So it's just one of those things that I don't think there's a solution for, and it's just part of it. We just have to deal with it, and the only thing you can really do is take yourself out of it if it bothers you that much. And I do what I can to avoid it. Sometimes there's nothing you can do, but I do my best to stay out of the circus. And most of the times I'm pretty good at it, but there have been a couple times this year where you have no choice but to get caught up in it.
And you said 1,000. So you're talking about 1,000? Is that are you exaggerating, or are you? That's how many people are out there. Sometimes.
I think on a peak, if you get a high risk day with a lot of tornadoes in May, in the plains, in Oklahoma on a weekend, there will easily be 1,000 people out there chasing storms, perhaps even more. Jeez. Easily. And that issue compounds if there's only one storm to be on. Sometimes you get these setups, and the setup will span from central Kansas down into Texas, and that spreads everybody out. So, the spatial geography of a large outbreak can separate everybody. But you get those days where it's just one storm, especially if it's a long-lived storm that goes on for 4 or 5 hours, and then everybody's able to congregate on it. I've seen that happen so many times, where I'm on a storm from birth, and there's a handful of chasers around, but that storm has now persisted for 6 hours, and it just gets worse and worse and worse because now everybody has time to get there. The other targets have busted. Everyone's looking at radar, going, "Oh, there's the storm." It takes them 2 hours to get there, but they get there, and it just gets worse and worse and worse and worse as the day goes on. So I don't have an answer for how to solve that, and I certainly don't want any regulation. But at the same time, it's like, it's some of it's almost needed. But how do you do it? That's a very tough. That's not an easy problem or solution to come up with.
Yeah, and I mean, you don't want the first responders actually responding to these emergencies, not out there policing
Yeah,
a bunch of storm
I
chasers. And I know that well, one thing I would say, like, for people, like, think about that. These guys, you're gonna have to pull them off of a tornado emergency potentially because you're out there driving reckless. I would hope that people behave responsibly on it.
Yeah, I will say, being so intertwined within the chase community, the number of chaser related car accidents has gone way up. A
Well,
lot of
we
this
had
stuff
the
isn't making the news.
fatalities a few years ago, the Oklahoma
Hmm.
students, right? Four, I think three of
Yeah,
them that died
that
from
was a
that.
tragedy.
A
And
very big tragedy.
for- that wasn't related to the storm chase itself,
Right.
but
They were just trying to get to
they
the
were
next
coming
spot or
home.
something. Or
Yeah, they
yeah.
were coming home from the chase, just the average driving to and from. But I will say that the number of chaser related car accidents, there's almost one every day, every setup. You hear somebody rear ending someone, minor stuff, but it's getting bad. It's getting real bad out there.
Yeah, it's well, we have social media, we have a lot more ways to get your content out. Of course, it's a good thing in a sense, but also there's going to be more people. Would you say that the best chasers, they'll kind of separate themselves as far as location is concerned? So, like, you might have a congregation over here, maybe some lesser experienced guys, but, like, from what I've noticed, it seems like the same few people are always getting the best video. You included, of course.
I mean, yeah, that's definitely a skill that separates the more abled versus some more of the novices. You learn to position on the storms a little bit better. And typically, if you're in sort of that, what we call the bear's cage, you're hanging out closer. There are fewer chasers there, which is a good thing because we don't need that kind of congregation right up close. And yeah, it's some of the more experienced people with tangoing up close like that, they have the confidence, the experience, and the knowledge to do so. And yeah, you do see a lot of the same individuals up there, and it just depends on the type of tornado as well. If it's a highly visible photogenic tornado crawling across a paved road, you're going to see the whole congregation there. You had that Gary tornado in South Dakota this year. That was an epic tornado, but that was also like the easiest tornado in the world to chase. The thing crawled alongside a paved highway and crossed it multiple times. It was highly visible. Like, it doesn't get any easier than that. And the tornado itself was very focused. So, a tornado like that, that's really easy to chase. You're going to have a lot more people up there getting close to it just because of those factors. You start getting into a more messier, quicker moving tornado, you're only going to see a handful of those very experienced and skilled chasers tangoing with that, which is a good thing. We don't need people who are inexperienced blindly driving into things. So that definitely does play a factor.
So we got some comments, and Adam is gonna walk us through a chase here in a minute. Also, I want to ask him about close calls, but I got a couple comments. So if you want to leave a comment, go ahead and ask a question in the comments. I've got Grace saying Lubbock, Kegel's Steakhouse. Apparently, is that a good one there?
Jagel's Steakhouse. I don't think I've ever been there, but I'm going to put them on the
Put them
list.
on the list. And then Jennifer,
I'm all about the shack. I love the shack out there in Lubbock. Oh, great barbecue.
barbecue, right, right. Oh,
The
barbecue,
shack.
man. We could have a long conversation there.
Mhm.
And then Jennifer White says, when you're chasing solo, how do you decide where to pull off on the road? You're so decisive when you're chasing, and then they're saying they'll drive past 20 good spots because they're just not right. Okay, well, what
Mhm.
So as far as the question, how do you decide where you're gonna pull off?
Yeah, those can be very last minute decisions too. For me, the biggest deciding factor is, am I in the position that I want to be in already? So, like, I generally know the position I want to be in relative to the storm or tornado, whatever it is going on. So, if I'm in the position I want to be in, then I'll pull over at the first available good spot that has the view that I want. If I'm not in position, then yeah, it's kind of a little bit more of a guessing game. Or if I'm in an area with kind of janky terrain, sometimes you just have to pull over with the spot that you're given. But it's usually a last minute snap decision. Very rarely am I thinking about that ahead of time. If I'm chasing with a partner, that's something that they can help me with. I say, hey, look at the satellite. Let me know if there's a clearing up ahead in those cases. But it's usually a very last minute decision. But if I'm in the position that I want to be in, as long as I got a view, then that's the spot for me. I got to make sure I can get in and out of there quickly because I'll usually wait till the storm is pretty close. So I need to make sure that I got a quick exit forward or backwards to get out of the way to stay in position. If it's on a road with a lot of traffic and it looks like it's going to be a complicated spot to get out of, then I typically won't stay there. So I also consider like how quick can I get in and out of this spot.
Right, like strategically, like if
Mm-hmm.
you need to get to go, you want to be able to go. A couple people saying the shack is good, so I'll have to check that out when I'm
Yeah,
in.
the shack is great. I love the shack. And my buddy Kyle out there in Lubbock makes some really good elotes. Kyle Russell, a good buddy of mine out there. So he'll make me a big bag of elotes, and then I'll go to the shack, and then I'll get some of the brisket, and then I'll take the leftover brisket and put it in the elotes. Oh my god! Like I talk about routine. That's one of them that I've got there. That sets me up for to go food for like 3 days.
Yeah, that
Oh, that's
Texas
so good.
brisket, you gotta, you like they do it right. That's some good stuff. Um,
Changed my life when I came down here.
I
Changed
hear
my
that
life.
barbecue could change many lives. Sometimes for the bad,
Mhm.
we love
Yeah,
barbecue.
depends how much butter they
It
use.
depends
Oh
on
boy.
how much you eat. Uh, Sean does think we should enforce some driving laws over near chasers. I mean, again, you know, I would worry that they'd be pulled away from some place they might be needed more
Yeah.
than there.
I
But
would, you know what? I wouldn't mind seeing accountability held after the fact. Like, now you got chasers streaming themselves driving egregiously.
hmm
Like, I would be all about them getting tickets in the mail after the fact. Like, I'm all for it. I'm not holier than thou. I bend the rules. Every chaser out there has to bend the laws of traffic sometimes to stay in position. But dare I say it, there's a smart way to go about that versus completely doing it recklessly. And I try to stay on the line of doing it smartly. The problem is everyone's line is in a different spot. So where do you define that? I will openly admit if there's a tornado bearing down on me and I'm in a small town and there's a red light and there is nobody around, I'm going through that light. I've got to stay in position.
sure,
Like,
sure.
I'm not here to pretend like I'm better than anybody, but there are some situations where if it's metro traffic and there's traffic everywhere, no, you got to sit there and wait. Like, you're not above the law. So, but those who might behave that way will disagree with me. They'll say, well, I'm a storm chaser. So where do you even put those lines? Like, who decides where those lines even are?
I think it would just
You know?
if something really egregious happened, that might maybe foster some discussion, but that's usually how it is.
Yeah.
Of course, they had El Reno years back. Did you know anybody in that team that passed away that day?
Yeah, I knew Tim, Carl, and Paul very well. I just saw them just a couple days before that. We were at a random Walmart in oh gosh, it was northern Kansas. The town starts with an H, and I'm blanking on the name. But regardless, I ran into them just a couple days before that. They were looking for black velvet to put on their dashboard to reduce the glare in the windshield for their video.
Okay.
And Carl and Paul are in Walmart. We're trying to find black velvet, to reduce the glare in the windshield. And then just 2 days later, they were gone. You know, that was the last time I saw them. And in that moment, you don't realize it's the last time you're going to see them. So that was very tragic, and thankfully Skip Talbot has a wonderful video of me chatting with them in a parking lot in Burlington, Colorado. He had a dome camera on his van. This was in was it 2013? I think it was. It was in April of 2013, the same year. And it's just me, Tim, Paul. We're just in the parking lot chatting it up, and the camera happened to be running. He posted the whole conversation. It's nice to go back and look at. So, I respected the hell out of those guys. They're great, brilliant minds. It was sad to lose them.
Very tragic, as you said, and they were respected chasers. These weren't rookie
Hmm.
chasers. I think there was a discussion back at that time about chasing. Of course, I'm sure got really loud. But these guys
Oh
were
yeah.
very experienced. This was just a freak event. This tornado, like retrograded or essentially did a loop, I believe, and came back on them, right?
It the El Reno tornado did three things simultaneously that caught everyone off guard. It expanded in size dramatically to 2.6 miles wide. At the same time, it expanded in size. It changed directions. It turned north. And it also increased in forward speed. It went from like moving at 35 miles an hour to moving at 60. It did all three of those things at the same time, which is what caught so many people off guard. And dare I say it, the next time that happens, it's going to be more than three. The way storm chasing is now, like it is not going to be a good day. It's the old cliche saying, it's not a matter of if, but when, because chasing is more popular now than ever. The chasing numbers have exploded. There's going to be another El Reno storm that happens, and it's going to take out more than three. We've seen so many chasers get hit in the last like 4 to 5 years by tornadoes that were much easier to chase, that didn't really do anything crazy.
Uh-huh.
And we've had a lot of chasers getting hit in the last 4 years by tornadoes that, in my opinion, are easy to chase. Like this should not have happened.
Right movers, north,
Yeah, like
northeast.
these are just your average tornado, straight path, not doing anything crazy. All tornadoes, they wobble and they have
Hmm.
shifts in strength, but El Reno's moves were exceptional. That was a rare beast.
I believe it was
But
the most
Chaser,
powerful they've ever recorded. Is that correct? At
there's some
least of
debate about that.
that time period or whatever.
Yeah, so
But very
the
powerful.
dial measured.
F5 tornado.
Yeah,
EF5 tornado.
the dial measured. I think it was 265 mile an hour winds in El Reno, which was
Wow.
the EF5 rating. But
Yeah.
then they redacted it because you can't use the wind to rate the tornado. So the rating was downgraded to EF3 after that. But that 265 mile an hour wind still puts it a little bit shy of some of the more powerful tornadoes. Of course, May 3rd, 99. Recently, the Greenfield tornado in Iowa.
Yep.
So there have been other tornadoes that were more powerful than that, but El Reno, for its shape shifting and its size, and just the trifecta of moves that it did, is what caught everyone off guard. It's going to be a bad day when that happens again.
Yeah, and then like I said, unfortunately, it will. I mean, there's the random nature of weather. I mean, as we know, as you said, you're checking it constantly, it changes constantly, and it's very hard to predict. And things
Mm-hmm.
happen. Things happen.
Thank you, Melanie.
Melanie, yes,
I'm just looking at.
friend of mine. She says she really respects your work you do, and that is, I can say that the same for myself. I'm very much respectful about it because I know the perceptions out there about chasers being a little crazy, and that might have some truth to it. Maybe you wouldn't even argue that, but but
I wouldn't.
but guys like Adam and people with a lot of experience, they know their meteorology, they know what they're doing, and so but yeah, much respect for it. Because and what I was gonna say is doing research as well. The data they provide to
Mm-hmm.
meteorologists is invaluable because look, most meteorologists sip coffee like I did, and sit on behind a desk. They do not go out in the field. Although there is the NSSL, Storm Prediction Center. They go out, do
Mm-hmm.
research. But anyway, these guys provide a lot of data for research purposes and for safety, helping get the message out. I know Adam goes to towns that have been devastated to help out afterward. I think that's kind of a code of, well, it seems to me like kind of
Yes.
a code of storm chasers is to go and help hopefully,
Yeah,
right?
a lot of them do want to help, and there's still a lot that we have to learn. A lot of storm chasers want to help and give back, and yeah, there's still a lot that we have to learn. There's a lot to learn.
Well, maybe it's like movie Twisters. We could just squirt some chemical in it. It would be nice, but
Yeah, right.
we could get in a discussion about that. I'm not going to right
Yeah,
now.
I don't think that's a good idea.
Not very.
But,
Yeah, the realism's a little. Yeah, but anyway. Great.
even if
Good.
we could,
Fun movie though, for sure.
even if we could,
Yeah, yeah.
a storm's job is to disperse energy so the planet can equalize itself. That energy has to go somewhere. If you're going to kill one storm, you're just going to make the next one that much worse. The energy doesn't go anywhere. So
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think it's practical.
It's yeah. Thermodynamics will get you every time. But yeah,
Yep.
I've always said that. Of course, most people their eyes glaze over unless you're weather geeks like us. So I just let it go.
Yeah.
All right. So let's see if we got.
Looks like Irish has a question.
Yeah. Well, let's see where that is here. I assume a person that knows you, she says she gets a little worried about you out there. So I'm sure.
Oh, thanks.
Okay. So
one thing you have to worry about me is if my subway is going to be closed. Oh, there's nothing worse that happens to me out there than when I pull up to a subway that's on my phone and the location's gone.
That's just un-American.
Terrible.
Irish Jade says, in all your years of chasing, what was your scariest one you encountered? Probably a few.
Oh man, there's a couple moments. That Perryville tornado in February 27th, 2017. That one was at night, and that was definitely a scary encounter because it was at night, so it was hard to see. That was one of the tornadoes where I could hear the tornado before we saw the tornado. And that is a totally different feeling.
Yeah.
So, it's dark. It's at night. You can hear it. Like it sounds like a loud waterfall. And so we know it's there. Like,
Wow.
Where's this tornado? We can hear it, which means it's close.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you get a flash of lightning and boom, you got a big wedge tornado. It's like, oh, okay. Then in the next flash of lightning, we see this. Then in the next flash of lightning, we see this. And then this.
It's coming
so
towards you.
what I'll get into in this video is
okay.
When the tornado just looks like it's sitting still and getting bigger, that means it's coming at you. We look for right to left and left to right movement. And in the flashes of lightning, all I saw was this. And that was probably the one moment where my heart just sank into my rectum faster than any other moment in a storm chase. And you can hear my voice in the video. I was with Stephen Jones that day. He was in here earlier. And I was like, we have got to go. And that was the one moment where I was like, holy cow. Like even in the Wayne, Nebraska tornado, when I almost got hit by that EF4 and I was backing out of the way and my back window blew out, like that was a bit of an oh crap moment, but I knew my escape and I was executing it. So, it was more, I love the quote in the movie 300 where it says, it's not fear that grips him, it's just a heightened sense of things. To me, that's perfect in storm chasing because it's like, in some of those moments, it's like, it's not fear, it's just you're heightened, you're amped.
Yeah.
But in that moment in Perryville, when all I saw was this at night, and to have jumps like this, a tornado was coming fast. That was a genuine moment of fear right there in that moment. I'll never forget it.
Yeah, I certainly can not imagine that. All right, so did you want to go ahead and show this then, Adam? Where you can
yeah. Let
me a little bit or tornado.
Yeah. We rehearsed this so much on the Zoom that I'm sure it's gonna fail in the Google chat here. So let me pull this up.
Sir. That's what happens.
Oh yeah. Which is another thing I'll say about myself. I am not one of these like tech genius storm chasers. There's a lot of storm chasers out there that love technology, like their background is in IT and they live and breathe engineering and technology. And let me tell you, I am not one of them. I am technology illiterate. So let's see here.
It's all been a learning curve, certainly
So let's see. I think I've got the video. Let me hit the share screen. Where did that go? Share screen. Okay.
Found it this time.
Select tab to share window. Looks like I can do the browser here. Okay. I'll be looking there. Do we see a tornado below me?
I see a tornado.
Is that all you see is the tornado, or is my ugly mug still on there?
So
It's
just the
beautiful.
tornado.
Just the tornado. All right, that'll work. Do we see the pen?
We do.
Or-
Yes, the pin is
We
there.
do. We do see the pen.
I don't know.
So you
Can
see
draw
my
anything?
scribbles.
Yeah, see if you can draw it.
I drew a smiley face. Do we see a smiley face?
Not yet. I wonder if it'll pop up.
Okay.
No.
Probably because I'm just doing the app window, so I won't
Yeah.
be able to, unless Google has a way I can draw like Zoom did, but I don't think there is.
Yeah, I wouldn't know on that.
Let me try this real fast. Let's do share screen.
Guys, if you got a question for Adam before he takes off, go ahead and leave that in the comments. Go ahead and share with friends. Get out there and
Okay.
like the video.
I'm going to share our screen, so we'll get the void thing of death real quick before I pop the window up here.
Infinity mirror. Is that what you mean?
The infinity mirror.
The dreaded.
So let me do that.
Sounds like a
Okay,
Avengers character.
Right. Okay. So we see the tornado, right?
Yep.
Do we see the pen now?
Now it's there, yes, sir.
Oh, look at that. I am technology.
So that's
I got
definitely
you
a
down
tornado,
here.
Yes.
That's definitely a tornado. So I'll play this. This is the Lincoln, Nebraska tornado from April 26th of last year. One of the
We're
more.
gonna get sound on this, just so you know, guys.
Yeah, unfortunately the noise canceling in my microphone is too good here. But so we're in position.
Would you say that's a chaser in the foreground there that's slowing down?
I moved it just as you asked that. We'll get them back, but the one thing I want to talk about when this goes, when we talk about the positioning, and I talked about that scary situation. When you're observing a tornado, we're pulled off on I-80 here. Okay, and we're looking southwest. The tornado is generally coming my direction.
This is Lincoln, Nebraska. I'm not sure if you mentioned that, right?
I did, but yes, this is Lincoln, Nebraska, April 26, 2024, last year. So, the thing I want to highlight here is when we're talking about the positioning of tornadoes, and this is another question I get asked, is the important thing to know when you're positioning around tornadoes is you have the tornado in sight, right? There it is. It's big. It's obvious. It's a tornado. So you want to identify an object on the ground. Let's use this building right here. What you want to do is you want to see if the tornado is moving from left to right, or is it moving from right to left? If it's moving from left to right, that means it's going to pass in front of you. Okay. So if you're looking at the tornado, it's going to pass in front of you. If it's moving from left to right, if the tornado is moving from right to left, the tornado is going to pass behind you. Okay. Whatever direction you're looking, the tornado will pass behind you if you have that left to right movement. If the tornado looks like it's just sitting still and it gets bigger, kind of like the one I described in my horror night vision, if the tornado is just doing this, then it's coming directly at you.
Right.
So when I get asked this a lot, like, especially when the tornado gets pretty close in this video, and I get asked all the time, well, how are you not afraid? So we've got the tornado, it's in our sights, it's big, it's strong, it's rotating, all that fun stuff. So we're watching the bottom of the tornado in relation to where this building is. Or it could be a tree, or it could be a telephone pole. If Adam could hold the camera still, it'd be easier, but you just got to identify an object on the ground. So what direction? Can we gauge a direction that it's moving? Let's just use this building for the sake of this discussion.
You guys want to comment with your answer on that? I think I got a good idea of it.
And to answer your question, Joe, I'm not sure if that was a chaser down there. The fact that they moved pretty soon after makes me think that it wasn't.
Probably not, yeah.
Because if you're a chaser, this is the position you're going to want to hold.
But, if I'm looking at Adam, I would say left to right.
Yes. and you can't hear the audio, but I'm actually calling that out. Like it has left to right. It has left to right. The tornado started out over here at this part of the building. So as long as it stays on this heading, it's going to pass in front of me. So I have absolutely zero reason to be concerned right now. The tornado is generally moving my direction, but as long as it's maintaining that left to right, it's going to pass in front of me. But where I'm pulled over, I already know where my escape route is. All I got to do is drive straight or throw it in reverse. I'm pulled over on an on-ramp for I-80. This is the on-ramp right here, the street at the bottom of the screen here. It's kind of a loop. This is I-80 and this is the exit ramp. I'm parked right here. So all I have to do is just go on the interstate and get out of the way. If it suddenly loses that left to right. But it never does. It maintains the left to right, so I know it's going to pass in front of me. And if you'll notice, the left to right isn't very dramatic. It's kind of gradual. That means it is, in my relative position, if this is me, it's hitting a big warehouse right now. Mm-hmm. Because the left to right isn't dramatic, the tornado, instead of going like this, it is kind of generally moving like this.
Okay.
So I know it's going to pass close, but I still know it's not going to hit me. So I have no reason. I am not worried in this situation, even though it's getting closer. It's maintaining that left to right, but that doesn't mean that it can't change directions. So you have to constantly pay attention to that. And I get asked that quite a bit, how are you not scared? Like, how do you know, what? And it's just, you got to stay fixated. I already know what my escape plan is. If it changes directions, there's Chelsea. I told her, I said, if it changes directions and suddenly it's at this tree, we got to jump in the car and go. Mm-hmm. So I've identified a point of which we need to escape if the tornado shifts directions. Well, this is a very debris-filled tornado. It was rated EF3. I believe it's at its strongest right here with this dang tree in the way. I mean, this thing is just, right? Yeah. And there's actually video from this train. The engineer was filming it, and boy, his perspective was quite mighty.
I was gonna say, I think I heard about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It was on the
idea of where the storm motion is, right? Like you're looking at products too, in the radar.
Yes.
It kind of gave you a sense of not only just the perspective you have on the ground, but certainly that as well.
Yes. The storm is generally moving northeast, so the tornado, for all intents and purposes, is generally going to move northeast as well.
Right.
So here it's getting ready to cross I-80, and it's getting closer. It's pretty close here. So it's a very debris-filled tornado. The video clip is almost done here because then I switch it. You can see there's Freddie McKinney. If anyone knows who Freddie McKinney is, he's a very well-known storm chaser these days. So there's Freddie McKinney right there. He's live streaming, and I'm actually getting hit with the debris here. Yeah, so we got the flight.
You're outside the vehicle then. Yep.
Yeah, this is a do as I say, not as I do moment, because I wouldn't recommend anybody doing that. But I'm just so fixated. So the tornado has crossed I-80. This is I-80 right here. Yeah. So now, and it's moving away. It's staying on its path. The tornado's moving northeast. Generally, if a tornado's going to shift directions, it's going to shift when it occludes, which brings it to the north and to the west. So if the tornado was going to shift, it would only shift further away from me. Just knowing tornado morphology and evolution, it more than likely would have moved away from me in those moments. I can play the next clip
like
here.
A splitting cell, right?
Yeah. So this was the next clip. It's a little bit shorter here, but it continues to move away.
Good wedge on it.
And that's, it's very close to briefing. I like how the traffic just continues driving now as if nothing ever happened, It's just another day. Like, I want to know what's going through these people's heads. What are they thinking in this moment? I'm a storm chaser, of course. I'm in my prime right now. But
right.
what is the general public thinking in those moments?
I'm not sure they're thinking too much is the problem.
Yeah. Like,
I saw some vortices coming up. So like a real stronger tornadoes, they have like those, what are they called? Like roll clouds almost. Vortices, right?
Oh, the horizontal vortex rolls that come out of the side. Yeah, this one had them. This one had all kinds of subvortex features, which is something that you typically see in those stronger tornadoes. You get a lot of crazy vortex motion, and there's suction vortices and horizontal vortex rolls and vortex sheaths. There's all different types of little subvorts that you get around these tornadoes.
Well, this is really great, man. I appreciate you showing that and taking us through us, looking at a tornado and how you think, not just like
Hmm.
it's, I could sit here and describe portions of the tornado, but you're giving us that chaser's perspective on what you would
Yeah,
do.
no problem.
And
I used to do that stuff when I gave the talks. Tell them, if you see a tornado, what do you do? Well, first thing, don't panic. Stop, look at it, just gauge where it's going, and make sure you can just drive out of the way. The fastest tornadoes don't typically go more than 60 miles an hour. If the tornado's 2 miles away, you got more than 2 minutes typically to make a decision. You don't need to panic. You just have to look at it and figure out where it's going and then drive away.
good advice, good advice. Jennifer just sent some stars. Appreciate that support, Jennifer. If you guys want to support
Thank
the
you so
page,
much, Jennifer.
you could do
Love to
that.
have you here.
Thanks a lot. All right, so I don't know where I think that's probably gonna just about wrap it up there, Adam. If you're cool with that.
Hey, whatever works. I can party all night, but
and in closing, like you've already given a few pieces of advice, but what's the biggest thing? Like somebody's thinking about doing this, their family might not agree, but they said, I'm gonna do it. I love it. I love weather. What would be the biggest piece of advice Adam would give, to day one Adam on a storm chase? Besides Subway.
the the biggest advice day one Adam would give is invest in Bitcoin. Back in 2012, because I could be fully funded right now if I bought in at the right time. But anyways, yeah, on topic, it's be prepared for evolving changes, be willing to adapt, and just keep your eye on the prize and do it because you love it, because this is a grueling field that will test every last ounce of mental and physical strength that you have. So you got to do it because you love it. If you don't love it, you're not going to make it. This is not a career that you do to make money. Now, you need to make money to make it a career. So it's a bit of an oxymoron. But if you're going to do this to make money, that's your only goal, it's
right.
You're in for a bad time. So do it because you love it, and stay true to yourself. Whatever your angle is, whether it's the big shtick in chasing is, got to be close, got to get close, got to be extreme. Well, if that's not you, don't force yourself to do that because you think that's what you have to do. There's room for everybody to excel in their area of interest. If it's photography, that's great. If it's time lapse, that's great. If you want to get close, get close. Like, I'm not here to tell you what to do. But stay true to yourself, stay true to the passion, and learn. Don't just blindly drive in there. Keep educating yourself.
Good advice, Adam. Good advice. Well, thank you so much for your time tonight. Thanks. Chelsea's also was kind of weighing in there, and you guys are partners.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else you want to add, Adam? I know this is such a cliche question. I don't know how good I am. Anyway, I don't know.
I accept Subway gift cards for Christmas. For all those dying to know what to get me for Christmas,
go follow Adam.
Subway gift cards.
Yeah, there you go. Go follow Adam on Facebook and support his page for sure. Storm Chaser Adam Lucio. Also, you're on Twitter or X, whatever now, and YouTube, I believe. Yep. So I think they can just Google or search you and probably find you pretty easily. Is that about right?
My username is pretty much the same on all platforms. It's just my name with WX, which is short for weather in the weather community. So if you type my name in WX, you'll find me.
Yeah, and I use WX in my Twitter handle, so it's bearded WX man, and I realize that looks like woman.
Oh
lady.
yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
All right. So thanks a lot, Adam, again, and yeah, appreciate your time. We'll see you out there. Sure, you'll be out there. I know you do tours as well. Tell them about the tours, storm tours you do.
Yeah, I got a couple tours every year with a company called Tornadic Expeditions. They're great. Typically, I do 2 to 3 tours a year. Last year, we launched what we call the Finger of God tours. It's my special tour that I run to get guests the up-close tornado experience, specifically for getting close tornadoes. We've got a modified Ford Expedition, not one of mine. The tour owner built it. Of course, they're sold out through 2027 already. But yeah, the tours are a great way to the tours are a great way to kind of get your feet wet. And we have a lot of tour guests that come on tour for 2, 3, 4 years. They learn what they can learn, and then they branch out on their own. Um, that's a great way to get the knowledge, get the experience, get yourself comfortable around some of the storms. We'll teach you. Everyone guides a tour because they like to teach, first and foremost. So it's a great way to learn, get some firsthand knowledge and experience.
Sweet. Well, I know they fill up fast. So if you're thinking about that, and Adam is actually doing number 8 for 27. Is that right?
Tour number 8? I do tour 8 every year. It's my favorite tour to guide because it's in July in the Northern Plains. You're kind of out of the peak of chase season. So North Dakota and Montana are very far from Texas. So it gives me a paid way to be out there. So now I don't have to drive from Texas to North Dakota for every setup. I'm already there for 10 days guiding a tour. So it's a way to extend my chase season. And I love doing it. I love chasing up there. There's fewer chasers up there. Montana and South Dakota have buffalo slots at every gas station. It's great. I love it.
And probably the good photogenic tornadoes up there in the plains, right?
Beautiful, just beautiful storms. Slower moving. Yeah. It's a whole different realm.
And so that's where you would recommend starting out, something like that, or a plains sort of setup, maybe.
Yeah, it's great. Right. You'll see epic supercells. Most of those tour 8s get tornadoes. People do July. There's no tornadoes in July. We've seen great tornadoes on tour 8.
Further north, right? It translates with the season, as people don't understand that. You just jet stream dives further south earlier in the season, and it translates north. So that's why you get those storms up there for all you folks wanting to do it. All right, Adam, that's it. Thanks a lot, sir. Appreciate you hanging in there on the technical side issues and all that. But again, we talked about it being live. You know how it is.
Wouldn't be an event without tech problems. Happens every time.
Absolutely. Appreciate everybody that followed, clicked on. Go ahead and like the video, share with friends. Let's get that info out to people who need it the most. For folks like Adam, give him a follow. All right, Adam, have a good one. Have a good night, sir.
All right. Thanks, all, for being here.
And I think that stream is stopped here. All right.
All right.
Thanks a lot, sir. And
thanks, Joe, for having me.
Watching out for your chase and coming up here, for sure. So,
it's coming up.
Enjoy your Christmas, and I'll see you down the road, man.
Yeah, you as well. Happy to do it again.
Okay.